Welcome to the channel. So in this video I'm finally finishing this project, but before we get started, this video is a little rough. I got a little excited in finishing it and I was falling out of frame and all that good stuff. So let's get started. So this is where we left off. At this point I just want to get all these wires out of the way. I don't want to add anything more to this project. So what I start doing, I take these two wires and I start bending them over the weave pattern that I have, and I'm gonna go and have them like do a loop around and have it get tucked in the back. Just keep something simple and something quick and fast just to get these wires out of the way. After that's done, we're going to do the same thing to the other side as well. Just, clipping them to the right length and tucking them in a respectable place. Alright, so at this point I took one of the longest wires from those four pieces of wire. I took one of the wires and was trying to shape it around the weave pattern that I did, but it wasn't working out so well, so I did a loop, the same thing that we did with the other two wires. Following those two wires I did a loop, and then the other three wires I just clipped them off and then tucked them back on itself, as you can see here. Didn't I tell you this tutorial was a little rough? So yeah, I just kept it very simple and tucked these wires, rounded them off. Don't want to add any more to this pendant. I think it looks absolutely amazing just the way it is. I just have to covertly tuck the wires away. So I took that same wire we just made a loop with and I went in for a second loop. I really liked how the loop turned out. I know I haven't done something like that in a while, as cheesy as that sounds. Usually it's all weave patterns and different weaving styles. So I try to go for 3, but it just didn't work, so I just kept it at 2 loops around. You can try and go for 3. It didn't work for me, so I cut the excess wire and I just tucked it on top of that weaving pattern. So this isn't the best way to end the wires. It could get like snagged or something, but it was the only thing I could do, only thing I could think of for that particular place. So now for these two bottom pieces of wire, just keeping it simple. I don't want to add any more to this project. I actually ended up adding a little bit more, but I kept it relatively small, and I figured I could hang something off the bottom of this pendant, and you'll see later on. So I made 2 loops, and I'm gonna have these wires eventually meet up in the back, as you can see. And now we're going to decide on what we can hang from our pendant. So I have a bunch of little knickknacks I got from a craft store, and the feathers and leaves that I've chosen look relatively nice on this piece. So the dangling pieces add a very nice touch to the pendant. Very nice, fun to play with, as you can see. And now the final thing to do is just clean up the wires in the back. I don't want them to be seen, so I make the loops a little bit tighter, and then I follow the shape of the other wire that's in the back. I don't want the wires to be able to see through the front, so we just tighten up the wires in the back and then tie them at the base. So once that's tied, the only thing left to do is just tuck the wires somewhere. So what I do is I split them up, following the shape of the pendant. You know, this is really, I found this formula really nice to finishing this pendant. So the only thing I could do with these wires that made sense was to pull them back to the front of the pendant. So I poked them through the back to the front, and then I proceeded to bend them over the top of our braid piece that we see right there. I fall out of frame on this part, so please forgive me. I was really excited making this piece. And yeah, so you can see right there, I just tucked it right on top. It's not the ultimate way of tying down these parts, but so in this part, I thought I was filming, and I wasn't. So what I did was I bent the last 4 wires over my bail pliers and tied a group of 2 together. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the wires back to the front of the pendant, following that other wire that I have also going down the front. And I'm going to do that for all the pieces of wire. It just seemed right. It just worked. So just following the flow of another piece of wire is how I finish this piece. I clip off the excess, I poke through the same part of where that other wire is, and just tuck it somewhere in the back, finishing this amazingly beautiful piece.